we live? Are we live? What up, people? It's your boy, the host with the most that do not brag or boast. I'm coming to you guys live from Ghost to Ghost. It's your boy. Welcome to another episode of Based on a True Story podcast. It's your host, your moderator. I'm Chris Don One. As always, hit the subscription button, hit the like button, share it with your friends, family, as well as your followers. Let's make this count and get it exercised in the YouTube algorithm. Okay? Can y'all hear me? Y'all can hear me. Y'all can hear me. Check one, check two. What up, people? Now, before I begin, I first like to state this. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year to each and one of you out there. Hope everyone gets what they want, gets the opportunity to do whatever they want, long as it's legal. All right. And stay safe, stay blessed, and hopefully I will see you guys. Well, not hopefully, I know for a fact I will be seeing you guys next week, and we're gonna chop it up on these lives, if you dig what I'm saying. So, yeah, happy holidays to you and everyone out there. All right, got that stuff on out of the way. Let's get into some story time. Okay, so story time, story time, story time. I'm gonna tell y'all one of the unusual employees I have ever met in my whole entire life, in my whole existence. I have never met a person or a personality like this. Okay, so peep this. All right. So I used to work at this retail store that will be nameless. Okay, and I used to work in this department. Now, the person that was in charge of this department is the same person that we're going to be talking about. Now, his name is Peter, okay? But he likes to be named Pete. Now, Peter is not from these parts of Cashville, Tennessee. Peter originated in Maryland, okay? From, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's out east, southeast. Go east, young man, all right? And Peter had a weird upbringing. You know, when Peter was telling me his bio story, you know, I got pieces of his bio story from straight coming from Peter, but also got the rest of it from other people that know Peter and know the rest of the story. Now, like I said, Peter had an unusual life. So Peter wasn't like this way. Peter didn't start off this way. Now, Peter was, a hard worker. He still is a hard worker. He takes pride in his work. He still do takes pride in his work. At one point, Peter was married. Okay, I don't know how long he was married, but he was married. Now, uh, he's no longer married because he divorced his wife. Basically, his wife was sleeping around with him. Now, I can understand, hey, look, men cheat, women cheat. You can't stop somebody from cheating. I get all that, okay? It's just who you cheating with. That's the bigger question for me. I can understand if the postman was poking Peter's wife, okay? I can even go as far as the next door neighbor, hokey pokey with his wife, or someone at work or church or whatever. All right. I'm not saying it's acceptable, but I would understand. All right. Here's what I don't understand, and I've heard this a time or two from other people. Um, I've heard this a time or two. All right. She was sleeping around with Peter's brother. I don't get that. Okay. To me, it's not cheat. It's cheating, but out of all the men on the planet, why would you cheat with Peter's brother? Okay. So you got to wonder, like, is she trying to, twist the knife in Peter's back? You know, it's already bad that you cheating on your boy, on your husband. But you, out of all the men on the planet, you chose his brother. Okay, I thought that was kind of weird, but hey, um, and of that incident, Peter's life changed after that incident. Peter's whole life has changed. All right, he started getting more timid. He lost his masculinity. He lost his identity, and Peter became a follower after that incident. Now, he probably was a follower before that incident, but he's a real follower ever since that incident. And everything from that incident on, it's not, any decision Peter makes, Peter is heavily influenced. Peter doesn't make his own choices. He just goes with whatever everyone else is doing. Peter's one of them type of people that if everybody decided to jump off the bridge, Peter would jump off the bridge as well. Without no rhyme or reason. He don't want no explanation. He said Peter would simply go, okay, everyone's jumping off the bridge, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna jump off the bridge. That's thanks for the thumbs up, okay? Peter's one of those type brothers, all right? But I worked with Peter. I respected Peter as a person, but I didn't co-sign on a lot of things Peter would do. Now, two things Peter, normally when we work together, I would have headphones on. I'm listening to music, podcasting, whatever, sports, whatever. All right. I mean, I know how to entertain myself. Pause. All right. Peter's one of those type of people that he can't entertain himself. He always has to be, thanks for the thumbs up, he always has to be around somebody or be a part of something. Now, real quick backstory about Peter. Now, before I started working with Peter, Peter was working with somebody else. Message retracted. I don't know. What's up, Mex J? I don't know what you was trying to do, but hey, it's all good in the hood, okay? So, real fast, real quick. So, Peter was, someone was working with before. Every person that had worked with Peter, it just did not work out. And, Peter always had an explanation why this person wouldn't work out with him or that person couldn't work out with him. All right. And I just thought that was weird. I mean, I understand, hey, it happens sometimes. The chemistry ain't right. Maybe, y'all don't see eye to eye. I can understand that happening occasionally, but all the time, it's kind of weird. But hey, I didn't, do no research in it. I really didn't care. All right. But Peter, before me, someone else was working with Peter. And the whole crew had this night where it's Dungeons and Dragons night. Now, for those who've been living under a rock, allow your boy to explain about Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons in high school. That's how I'm kind of familiar with Dungeons and Dragons. Now, this is no video game. It's all based on your imagination. You got these little, you're building your character through this sheet of paper. Your character's going to have all these like strength and charisma and magic. You're building your character. Okay. And it's really based on your imagination. It's like a board game. All right. And I used to play this when I was a kid in high school. Okay. I'm a grown man. I don't play stuff like that, but I understood the assignment when they said they used to have Dungeons and Dragons night because it just automatically hit. So Peter wanted to be down with it. He wanted to be down like Brandy. So Peter began to hang out with them every night playing Dungeons and Dragons. Peter wasn't heavy into the game. He just wanted to be around a bunch of people because Peter really didn't have any friends, okay? The only people he associated with was people at work. Matter of fact, Peter would clock out at 7 a.m. You dig what I'm saying? And hang around to almost like in the afternoon, just talking to people while people were working. And Peter, at first, Peter, people would just play it off, but really people didn't want to hurt Peter's feelings and say, "Hey, man, like I'm working right now, I don't have really enough time to socialize." And sometimes Peter can be annoying, okay? But nevertheless, that was pretty much Peter. All right. So Peter used to hang out with them doing Dungeons and Dragons. All right. So there was this dude named Brian. And Brian was messing around with another female co-worker, and she was married. Now, here's the kicker. She's married to a guy that, like, he didn't mind his wife messing around. It's a weird type of fetish, open relationship, but she gets the opportunity to fool around, and he's okay with it. He's not trying to fool around with nobody else. I guess call it being a cuck. So he gets off of his wife messing around with other people. So Brian and this girl, they started messing around and stuff, and they started, during the Dungeons and Dragons shit, they would do some extracurricular activities outside Dungeons and Dragons. Everyone knew the assignment. We all knew that Brian and this girl was messing around. Peter would be the last to know about this shit. So Peter asked me, he said, "Hey, what's going on with Brian and so-and-so?" And I'm going like, "Well, I thought you already knew." And he said, "No, what?" I said, "You know that they messing around." And Peter go, "Well, I thought she was married." "Yeah, she is married, but they're still messing around." All right. So Peter I told Peter, I said, "Hey, Peter, man, keep it between me and you. Don't be broadcasting it or advertising it or even asking them questions, okay? Because, they're going to flake off on you if you, start wanting to investigate." So he says, I get it. I told him all this. A day later, he starts asking other people that are friends with Brian. And then they would tell Brian, "Hey, Peter's trying to figure out what's going on with you and the old girl and the relationship, this, that, and the third." All right. So Brian didn't like it. He was getting furious with Peter, like, "Man, they trying to keep this on the hush-hush tip. Don't ask, don't tell." We all knew what was going on, but it's none of our fucking business. You dig what I'm saying? Nobody wasn't trying to dig into it. It's none of my business what y'all do, inside or outside of work. It does not affect me. Okay? So everyone knew the assignment. Everyone knew the play. But Peter wanted to, I guess he wants to be down like Brandy and say, "Hey, I know what's going on." So it infuriated Brian, but it really pissed off old girl. So it got to the point where old girl would get upset when Peter would go to these Dungeons and Dragons meetings, when they have game night. So Brian just walked up to Peter one day and said, "Hey, man, you're not allowed to, they don't want to hang out no more." He don't want to hang out with Peter no more doing Dungeons and Dragons. Now, Peter wasn't really enjoying the Dungeons and Dragons. He was just more so wanting to go because everyone else was there. And instead of Peter just going like, "Hey, telling Brian like, 'Yo, man, that's kind of effed up,' or, try to explain himself," he just said, "Okay." Peter one of them type people that he doesn't say what he feels. He just keeps it bottled up. Yeah, you ever met somebody that keeps shit bottled up, and they keep so much stuff bottled up, they just explode with rage? I don't think it's a good idea to bottle up your emotions, but that's what Peter was. Except Peter didn't. It wasn't a point where he bottled up so much stuff he exploded. Peter just kept it bottled up. So it just gotten hit, it just gotten worse and worse for Peter because Peter could never read the room. All right. So Peter, after that happened, you know, Peter still don't get why him and Brian are no longer friends. So now he just starts hating Brian. He said, well, I don't like him anyway. Now Peter don't know why he don't like him. The real reason why Peter doesn't like Brian is because Brian already done dumped you. Now, a lot of people thought that Peter was, attracted to Brian. And I would tell Peter, I said, Peter, that's not a good look. I mean, the stuff that you be saying is not a good look. He said, what you talking about? I said, the way how you talk about Brian, it's kind of weird. It's kind of sus-like, man. You need to chill out talking like that way, to everyone. It's just weird. You dig what I'm saying? So Peter stopped, hanging out with Brian. Brian quits the company. He's doing something else. Old girl quit the company. She's doing something else. And now we're moving on. All right. So fast forward to 2 years ago. Big ass election. It was Trump. Oh, I forgot that damn lady's name. Oh my God. I got to figure out this lady's name before we move any further. And I got like 10 minutes. Lord have mercy. Help me, Lord. Help me. Hold on one second, y'all. Kamala Harris. All right. It was Trump and Kamala Harris. Now, no one wanted neither one of them, Kamala Harris or Trump. It was like, do you want the devil you do know or the devil that you don't? It was one of them type situations, all right? So everybody's talking about it at work, and the one thing I don't like talking about is politics, and I particularly don't like talking about who I'm going to vote for. So, Peter kept inquiring like, hey, man, Chris, who you going to vote for? I'm like, I really don't know. I mean, I don't really talk about who I'm going to vote for. I look at the candidates, I see the pros and the cons, and then I make my decision after that. But as of right now, I have no clue. I'm going to be real with y'all. I really didn't have a clue who I was going to vote for. But there was never a doubt in my mind there was never, like I was going to vote for Trump all the way. Okay. So with that being said, everyone else is talking about voting for Trump. Now, I don't have a problem. You can vote for whoever the fuck you want to vote for, but vote for somebody that makes sense. Vote for somebody that can probably help you. All right. I can understand you voting for Trump and you are a wealthy minority or a wealthy American, a white American. I can understand that. If you are a well-rounded, educated person, I can understand you voting for Trump. I can understand these things. But we're talking about people that's on the other side of the equator. We're talking about people that are not wealthy, okay, that's living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to make ends meet, all right, not really well-rounded education-wise. Their longest stint of education is probably through high school. They've never been through college or anything like that. So I don't understand why you should vote for somebody that represents you and identify with you more. So I never could figure out, and it was a head scratcher to me, why people that are in the same boat like me are voting for Trump. And Peter was one of those guys. Now, Peter would try to explain to me why he's voting for Trump. Okay, and it sounds real good, but it sounds like talking points that I have already heard from various shows and articles that I've read. And all the talking points Peter were using is not benefiting Peter. It's not benefiting, and it's not just Peter, just it's a lot of people that are in the same situation, in the same boat that I am. All right. So here comes the election. Trump becomes president. All right. Everyone's happy that Trump's the president. People are more happy that they made the right choice. People are more happy that they voted for Trump than Trump actually helping us. So Trump first couple of months in the office, it was a struggle. It was struggle city. Okay. Things wasn't going too well for Trump. It was a period of time where things wasn't going too well for Trump. I don't know if it was the first couple of months, but there was a point of time where, and it's still that way even today. And it was just, bad press after bad press, and then the Epstein reports on top of that, and how he's trying to censor media and things of that nature. You dig what I'm saying? So it's just a rough patch for Trump. So I would tell Peter, I'd be like, hey, Peter, there's, hey, what's up? What's up? How you doing, Thomas? Mr. Thomas. So I would tell Peter, I'm like, hey, man, it's not looking good for your commander-in-chief, the guy that y'all voted in now. And like I said, Trump was going through some ish. Okay, what's up, Thomas? Okay, good. All right. So, and thanks for the thumbs up. I didn't see all those thumbs up. I really do appreciate that, guys. So, I was telling Peter, I said, hey, it's not looking good for Trump. Trump is down on the polls, and Trump is effing this up. Trump fucking this shit up. There's a crazy story at that particular time where Trump was deporting people, people that are not from this country back to their country. And a lot of those people that he was deporting were people that was voting for Trump. And now they're on the news boo-hooing and crying, talking about Trump deported me and I voted for him. Well, what did you expect? You should vote for somebody that has the same interests as you. Don't vote for people because that's the popular thing to do. Well, so-and-so voted for Trump. My mama voted for Trump. My friend voted for Trump. So-and-so is voting for Trump, so I should vote for Trump, right? No, because everyone's have different interests. Everybody's different. Everyone's interest is different than yours. Everybody's not going to be on the same page as you. So I'm just telling Peter, I'm like, hey, you voted for this man. This man talking about taxing overtime. Don't you like overtime? You like getting overtime. Trump talking about taxing overtime. Hey, I'm telling him all these things that Trump is trying to put into play. Basically, hey, Trump interests doesn't align with your interest. That's pretty much what I said. So Peter finally broke down and said, yeah, I really didn't want to vote for Trump. I said, huh? I said, you've been talking about you want to vote for Trump for the past 2 years. Now all of a sudden you're telling me you didn't want to vote for Trump. So then Peter says, well, that wasn't my decision. The reason why I voted for Trump because my sister voted for Trump. Okay, what does your sister has to do with you? Okay? That's an ignorant way of deciding your future. Because we're hook, line, and sinker to this guy for the next 4 years. And basically now, it's already bad enough you voted for him and he doesn't have the same interests as you do. Now you're telling me you didn't want to vote for him. You want to vote for Kamala, but, your sister told you to vote for Trump, so you voted for Trump. That's some dick eating, following type Joe Smo ish. You dig what I'm saying? So you're not even man enough to make your own decisions. You're just going about what people are telling you. And it goes back to what I said in the beginning of this story. You know, I think, and I told Peter this. I wasn't trying to be funny or anything. I said, hey, man, I think, when your wife cheated on you with your brother, that was very traumatic. And I'll be honest with you, Peter, I think you should talk to somebody, talk to a professional and seek help. He turned it into a joke. I'm like, Peter, I'm not really joking. I'm not joking, Peter. This is real ish. Because if you don't fix this, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Obviously, you're not growing out of this, and it's affecting a lot of things you do. So it goes back to what I'm saying. A lot of these people that voted for Trump, they have some hidden mental issues. And they're voting for Trump for all the wrong reasons. I can understand if someone comes up to me and say, I voted for Trump because his interests align with my interests. Okay, cool. I get that. Nobody ain't saying that that's a bad thing to go off of. But when you're voting for Trump because someone else told you to vote for Trump, or you voted for Trump because that's the end thing to do, you want to be with the cool kids, that sounds kind of weird, okay? And furthermore, it's even more weirder when you tell me you didn't really want to vote for Trump. You wanted to vote for Kamala, but since your sister told you to vote for Trump, you voted for Trump anyway. But hey, it is what it is. But, Peter was one of those weird people. And, even to this day, sometimes I see Peter and I see Peter walking. Sometimes I be saying to myself, something ain't right about Peter. But, that's something, like I said, that one thing where his wife cheated on him with his brother affected Peter. And Peter don't realize it. But hey, it is what it is. So, hope everyone enjoyed that story. I enjoyed that story. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday. I will be back better than ever starting Sunday or Monday, maybe one of those 2 days. And we'll chop it up again. I got some stories on the way. Hey, I really do appreciate y'all guys in the comment section when the live is over with. You guys comment in the comment section. I like that. I appreciate that. But just give me some info. Tell me what else you want me to talk about. Okay? I got stories for your ass. Okay? But sometimes I like to dabble into other things. Okay? Sometimes I wouldn't mind helping people with their problems. Like, hey, if you got a problem, just tell me about it. And maybe I can fix it. Or if you got your own story, tell me about it in the comment section, okay? But guys, I'm up out of here. I hope y'all have a wonderful, blessed holiday. It's your boy. I will see you guys. We might do it Friday or Sunday. It'll be soon. All right. But I hope everyone has a blessed holiday. I'll talk to you guys later. I'm gone.